Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our third installment of Informatica Cloud Tech Tuesdays. Today, we're going to be exploring a very important topic, and it's to do with SAP integration. Now, today we have with us Anand Perry from our Informatica Cloud product management team, and he's been with Informatica for over 9 years. Before joining the Informatica Cloud product management team, he spent a number of years at Informatica's professional services organization in leading the SAP Competency Center. He has over 15 years in dealing with SAP-related integration issues. So today, let's look at the agenda and talk about why SAP integration is important. And after that, we'll then be passing the baton over to Anand, and he'll be showing you a demo of SAP integration and how to do it easily through the cloud. And finally, we'll have some questions and answers, a quick summary of the topics we've learned, and then go into the next Tech Tuesdays session. So SAP is the leading ERP vendor by market share, according to Gartner. So in 2012, out of the entire market size of over $24.5 billion, SAP had 25% of their market share. So by far, it is the number one ERP vendor by market share. And even though it only grew by 2.2% over 2011, you can see that it is still a sizable number of the entire ERP market. At the same time, you also have SaaS applications whose growth is taking off. So there's different categories for SaaS, of course, leading from business intelligence to CRM to enterprise content management to cloud ERP. But of all those categories, you'll see that CRM is the fastest growing SaaS category. So what happens is that a lot of these newer SaaS applications that are being adopted happen to be in the CRM space, such as Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics CRM Online. And a lot of these CRM systems need to integrate with on-premise ERP systems in order to access mission-critical information, such as customer information, purchase history, financials, inventory information, because you need that information in order to run your CRM system successfully, in order to close your opportunities with customers and advance them to the pipeline. So this is why it's very important for these cloud systems in the CRM space to access on-premise ERP systems such as SAP. So let's look at some of the primary SAP integration use cases and the features that we have within Informatica Cloud that help support these various use cases. So we talked about the need for these CRM systems in the cloud, such as Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics CRM Online, to integrate with SAP. So the application synchronization aspect is really a big part of SAP integration. And migration. So let's say you have a new cloud application that you brought online, and you need to migrate mission-critical information into it for the first time in order to actually use the information. So the data migration aspect is also an extremely important use case in order to make sure that your newly deployed SaaS application is successful. And of course, you have your typical data warehousing use cases whereby you extract mission-critical information from your ERP system, like SAP, into a data warehouse for your downstream reporting purposes. Now, there's several different features within Informatica Cloud that Anand will go over and demonstrate why it's easier to do SAP integration through the cloud. So you'll see features such as user-defined joins, data sorting, the ability to toggle between some of the SAP technical names, the business names, using our object search to browse the metadata, as well as doing this through a wizard-driven connector. You'll also see that several SAP system variables can be supported in filters, and that you'll be able to do lookups in SAP tables. So with that, I'm now going to pass the baton over to Anand Perry, and he'll be taking us through a demonstration of SAP integration.
Okay, today we're going to talk about three specific demos. The first demo we're going to see is the data migration between SAP and Salesforce application. Here we're going to do account and contact sync. Now, I have my Salesforce browser open, and in here, in the new accounts view, I have a specific view called New This Week selected, and there are no accounts available to me that are loaded in Salesforce. Now, as part of this demo, I'm going to load some data from SAP that has been tagged for migration. And I am in the SAP system here in my table Customer Master KNA1, and I have tagged a few accounts, and these are the accounts that will be migrated from SAP into Salesforce. Now let's see how many accounts we have here. We have 3 accounts, and all of them have been tagged. So I'm going to go into Informatica Cloud now, log into the Informatica Cloud. So I just move on. I'm going into the data synchronization task. So we have various applications, and data synchronization is the application that's commonly used to migrate data from or move data from one application to the next application. So I've already built a few tasks for this purpose, for this demo. And the first one is called the SAP to SFDC account sync. I'm just going to open this and walk you through this process. And here's I have a simple task name. I chose an operation called upsert. That is, either I'm going to insert if the record does not exist. If the record exists, I'm going to do an update on that. So it's just a name here. And my source is going to be SAP. So C6 _ table, this is my SAP. So I can view the connection, and it says the SAP table connector. And I have my properties, username, password, and I can do a test connection here. And the table KNA1 is the customer master, so we can do a search here. This is the object repository search, and I can do a search on the technical names or on the business names. For example, if you only know the business name, customer master, and all the tables that have customer master as part of its description will be pulled up here. And KNA1 is one of them, general data in customer master. Now here we have a checkbox called display technical names, and you see KUNNR, LAND1, name 1. These are technical names in SAP. These are a little bit cryptic. Now if I uncheck that, you'll be able to see the actual business names, customer, country, and name. These are a lot more familiar to folks. So you have the ability to toggle between them, and you have the ability to do searches on the metadata repository based on the technical names or on the business names. So we chose the customer master as our source from the SAP, and we are choosing the target as Salesforce, and the target object is account. And in the data filters, we have chosen SORTL, which is our search term, equals to IW13. On the SAP side, we have SORTL, and we have tagged a few accounts with IW13. And that's the exact same filter we have here. Very simple. And we've done some field mapping from SAP fields to the Salesforce fields. And in the last section here, we have a few more options. If we are migrating large volumes of data, we can use the bulk API of Salesforce. Now, for this demo purposes, we are only migrating only 3 accounts. Therefore, we don't need to use the bulk API. So I'm just going to use the standard API. Now I'm going to do a save and run. Now while that is running, I'm going to go into my Salesforce. I'm going to refresh my screen here, and as you can see that, the task ran pretty fast, and you have 3 accounts migrated from SAP into Salesforce. I'm going to, the next one, which is what you're seeing here is an outbound message from Salesforce got triggered because we've loaded some data into Salesforce, and there are rules, workflow rules on the Salesforce side that basically trigger outbound messages. And in this situation, what we have done is we are capturing the Salesforce ID related to the SAP ID and migrating that back into SAP. So we'll come back and take a look at this in a minute. So let's go ahead and open the account in Salesforce. I'm going to open Walter Technologies here. And we put the account number here. This is the SAP account number. Now, in SAP, if you want to refer the Salesforce account number for this ID, the outbound message will help us with that. Now here's a table that we built in SAP that is going to capture the data that's coming through the outbound message and it's going to do the link. Now we have migrated 3 accounts from SAP into Salesforce, but only 2 have come back into SAP. The reason for that is we have a filter on the outbound messaging for only country code equals to US. And if I go and look at this specific account that I have opened, this happens to be in Germany. So let's go back. So 3690, and this is in US. And if we go into our SFDC log, you'll see 3690 and its corresponding Salesforce ID. So continuing on, the next part is to migrate the associated contacts with contacts. So as you can see right now, there are no contacts loaded for any of these customers. And we're going to execute the second task from Informatica Cloud. Now this is called the contact sync. And in the contact sync, I will show you one additional feature, which is the user-defined joins. So it's got a name, same upsert, and on the source tab, we have a multi-source right now. So this is, the data is coming from more than one table in SAP. It's in fact coming from 3 tables. And here we are creating joins between these tables, KNA1, KNVK, and ADRC. And these are called relationships on the Informatica Cloud. So we can add as many tables, and we can define the relationships just like any other relational source. There is no difference here. And rest of the mapping will look very similar to what you've seen already with the account sync. So here the target object is contact. And I will show you one other difference in the field mapping, how we associate the contact to an account. It is through something called as a related object. And we are basically relating it back to the account with the external ID, which is our SAP ID that we've loaded. And I'm going to execute this, save and run. As you can see, these are very, very simple mappings, wizard-driven mappings, 5-step process to the most part. And we are able to easily migrate data from SAP into Salesforce for very complex objects like accounts and contacts. Now once this runs, you will be able to see the contacts associated to the accounts in the Salesforce. So now it's running here. All of this is happening through SAP Java connector and through RFC technology in SAP. We're not generating any ABAP programs behind the scenes, so this is just happening in real time. Now I go into Accounts tab one more time, do a refresh of my accounts, and let me go back into Walter Technologies. Scroll down. I have one contact called Wolf, and he's a manager of finance. So not only the contact got loaded, it also got automatically assigned to the corresponding account. Now if we go back one more time here, and there is a contact associated with the Beck Sports as well. So this is the simple migration between SAP and Salesforce, and this can be done using the wizard-driven interface that Informatica Cloud has pretty fast. So moving on to the next demo, we're going to focus on the data warehousing. In data warehousing, the volume of data that needs to be moved is extremely large. And for this demo, we have chosen one of the largest tables in SAP. It's the cluster table. It's called BSEG, and this has all the financial information in SAP. Most of the financial information is available in this single table. And this table can grow into millions and billions of records, large. So considering that we don't have that much time, I'm just going to extract 1 million records from this table. And what this demonstrates is that there are no limits on our side in terms of timeouts or resource constraints. It's only limited by resource constraints on the source and target. So we already built a simple task, and it's called AP BSEG extract 1 million, and the task operation is insert. And this is going to read from SAP from table called BSEG. And I'm writing to a local file on my system. And I'm not applying any filters. And I've mapped every single field. SAP tables are extremely large and wide. So in this situation, we have probably around 300 fields, and I've mapped all of them. So this is a real wide record. And all I'm doing here now is just save and run. So for data warehousing, initially you'll have to migrate all of the data. And in that situation, you may have to do full table extract. So in the activity monitor, our job has started. What I'm going to do is, the job is running, it's extracted 23,000 records here. I'm going to take you into SAP. I'm going to transaction SM37. This is the background process. So to run extremely large jobs that need to extract millions of records, we need to run them in background mode in SAP. So I'm just going to check for jobs that are currently running in SAP system under my name there. So there is info table read, and it's active. It's running. And this, to extract 1 million records in this kind of environment right now, it takes roughly 10 minutes or less. So this is underway. And here in the activity log, still running. So while this is running, let's go ahead and take a look at SAP lookup as well. We support SAP lookups, table lookup. So if you're migrating data from a couple of applications, and then you need to have a lookup on SAP to determine the currency codes, or currency translation, or any other configuration information that's only available in SAP, we can quickly do an SAP lookup. And I've built one task already called SAP lookup, and it's very simple, just a name there. The source I'm using a flat file. It's KNA1, which is the customer master from SAP that's been downloaded to a flat file. And the target is also a flat file, and it is called the SAP lookup.txt. Now, in the target, what we're doing is we are associating the customer number to the organization it belongs in SAP. That's called the bookers or the company code of SAP. Now, this is not available in my source, but I'm determining this at the runtime doing a lookup. On the BUKRS, you can see that there is a lookup configured here. Let me click on the lookup functionality, and we provide a connection, and we choose what table that we want to look up on, and we associate the source file, the source field to the target field. KUNNR of the source equals to the target's KUNNR, and the output field is bookers, and we're going to, and if there's more than one field available, we're going to just pick one randomly. Now, if there's only one available, that's fine. So that's what's going to happen as well. Okay, so this is a very simple mapping with an SAP lookup. So I'm going to do a save and run. Now, as you can see, the other task there, the 1 million records task, we have around 352,000 records already extracted. So in the background job is still running in SAP. I'm going back into my activity monitor, and here's the lookup. It's running. I'm going to go back into the activity monitor. By this time, the SAP lookup should have completed. Monitor. Yeah. So the SAP lookup has completed successfully. 3,633 records. Now I can go to my local file here and find IW SAP lookup. This is my target. I'm going to open this target. Now, there are only two fields in this target, my customer number and its associated company code from SAP. And now this table or this file can be used for other lookups in the downstream, in data warehousing or wherever it's required. So let's go back into SAP, have a look. Our background job is continuing to run. So probably we have another 4 or 5 minutes for this to run. So Ashwin, while this is running, are there any questions that we have?
There's a couple that have showed up on the chat panel. And folks, once again, if you do have any questions about the demo, please use your chat panel to ask them. So the first question so far, Anand, is about something about ABAP programs. It's about whether the user needs to generate an ABAP program to perform an extraction from SAP R3.
Excellent. So I was kind of briefly referring to that a while back. These extracts that we're doing on the cloud are not generating any ABAP programs. So these are going through the SAP JCO layer into an RFC function module, which generates OpenSQL on the SAP ABAP layer. And all of this is happening automatically behind the scenes, and user does not need to generate any programs or objects in SAP and associate them to transports and migrate them from dev to QA to prod. So this is seamless, and once you finish your development in one environment, in the next environment, all you have to do is change the connection. So there's really nothing associated with the task that needs to be migrated from one environment to next environment on the SAP side. So this just makes the development quite seamless.
Great. And the other question that just popped up is about configuration. So from a point of view of using the Informatica Cloud connector for SAP, what does the user have to do as far as configuration is concerned?
The configuration, there are two aspects to it. On the cloud itself, if you look at the configuration, there's only, all you have to do is set up a connection. And the connection is rather straightforward. We give a name to the connection. We choose the type, SAP table connector. We associate that to a secure agent, which is your runtime engine, the user ID, password, the client in SAP instance that you need to get connected to. And the only thing that's little different here from standard connections is that we have to specify the SAP rfc.ini path and its destination. So think of it like a tnsnames.ora or odbc.ini. So this is an SAP proprietary file where you have the host name, the port number, and so on and so forth. So this is all you have to give on the SAP, on the cloud, and do the test connect. Informatica Cloud Connect, SAP Cloud Connector comes with a transport. Now this transport has to be imported onto your SAP instance. Now this is a task for your basis administrator. And the second part is you have to download the SAP JCO libraries from the SAP Marketplace and install them in the Informatica Secure Agent. So there are a couple of locations where you need to place the SAP JCO jar file, and that's clearly documented in our user docs as well as in the community articles that we're going to talk about later. These are the two prerequisites that have to be done before we come into the Informatica Cloud. And of course, you also need to have a user ID on the SAP end. So these are, if once you have these basics, transports and the SAP JCO connector in place, rest of it is pretty simple on the cloud. Okay, looks like our job is done. So let's go have a look on the cloud. Yes, our job, the BSEG extract, 943,000 records have been extracted successfully. So this is our sandbox. So we only have about roughly 1 million records in this table. But in real implementations, you can have anywhere from 1 million to 1 billion records in there. Now, if I look, this ran about 9 minutes 28 seconds, and this is running. The SAP instance is out there in India, and the secure agent is here in Dallas, Texas, and the cloud instance is out there in California. So this is using quite a bit of a network bandwidth, and in spite of that, we were able to move 1 million records in less than 10 minutes. Let's go take a look at where the file got generated. And there's the AP BSEG, demo BSEG. And I'm going to open this in the text pad, 1 million records, but let's see.
Anand, while you're opening the file, another question came in with regards to clustered and pooled tables. And the question asks, when should you extract from clustered and pooled tables? Can you really extract from clustered and pooled tables, and whether there's any pros and cons of doing so?
Yeah, Informatica supports all tables and views, extraction from all tables and views of SAP. There are over 80,000 plus tables in SAP, and we support all of them, and they all appear exactly the same way on the Informatica Cloud. Now, there are subtle differences between the cluster and pool tables versus the transparent tables. So SAP recommends that we do not go against cluster tables and pool tables when the data is available in the transparent table. So this is just something that you have to keep in mind because there's some performance implications. But on the SAP side and on the Informatica side, we support them seamlessly. And for example, the one that you have seen just this demo here, the BSEG, is a cluster table, and we've extracted 1 million records from this in less than 10 minutes. And the text pad is kind of looks like struggling to open this, so I will not take up time opening this text pad.
Okay, great. So Anand, if you could pass the baton over to me, just want to wrap up with some Tech Tuesdays tips for success, since we are a little bit over time. Right now, what we're going to do is wrap up with some Tech Tuesday tips for success, and there are some more questions that came in, but because we are about 6 minutes over our time, we'll get back to you via email. So the first Tech Tuesday tip for success with regards to SAP integration, as Anand mentioned, is to make sure that you import the SAP connector transports. And there's some detailed documentation on our community site with regards to how to do this. And you also want to ensure that the SAP Jacko libraries are available before you go ahead and perform the integration. You also want to make sure that the SAP user has the privileges for several SAP objects. And if you want to find out the list of objects, there's a second link to the community which will give you the list of objects that you need to set up privileges for. And do make sure that you use filters and only select those SAP columns that are needed. And this will help improve performance.
So with that, let's look at some of the next steps. If you'd like to try out the SAP connector, please get in touch with your account manager. Next, please go ahead and join the Informatica Cloud community where you can receive tips and tricks with regards to integration. And next Tech Tuesday session is focused on using REST APIs when performing an integration job using the cloud. Once again, thank you for attending this session in SAP integration. See you next Tuesday.